Greetings, friends. Hello and welcome to the Secrets of a Witch podcast with me, Sabrina Scott, where I talk all about so many different things: life, love, healing, spirituality, witchcraft, trauma, tarot, and everything in between. That is what we talk about here. So, welcome. If you're new to the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. If you are someone who's been listening since I launched this thing back in February, also thank you for being here. It honestly means the absolute world. And oh my god, the cats are hissing. As you guys probably heard in my last episode of this podcast, I shouted out this what I'm calling the pothead cat collar, and my big fat gigantic orange boy who I'm obsessed with, he's my faves, I love him. He is currently wearing not one but two chilled out pothead cat collars so that he can stop bullying my little baby who just jumped up on the bed as I'm recording this. So much improved. He just gave one slight hiss and she was able to jump up on the bed and still chill. So this is great. I'll keep you guys posted. I received some DMs from you guys that the cat collar chill out vibe advice was appreciated. So if you missed out, I think it's called the Comfort Zone cat collar. I got it on Amazon. It's a lifesaver, honestly. Everything has been more peaceful. But anyway, this episode is not about cat collars. So here we go. Happy Thursday if you're listening to this in real time. And so this is going to be the delayed Mother's Day episode, right? And so if you guys have been following my story, I don't know, I've been doing this for a decade, I guess, talking about things on the internet and being a human that teaches stuff to people and thinks thoughts out loud and whatever. And so a big part of that whole story has been healing and naming that trauma history, specifically in regards to family. And I actually think the woundedness around my mother is the worst part of it all, to be honest with you. And it took me a long time to realize that. I probably only realized that in the last year or two, to be honest with you. Which thing hit harder and worse and whatever. But anyway, this episode is not quite about that, but just giving some background info. But I've been kind of talking about this thing for a while, right? This healing trauma, healing family trauma, working through it, living life, being joyful. Literally, I live a peaceful life with pretty much no drama. If you know what I mean, it's just, whatever drama there is because I don't know, didn't know about paperwork that was supposed to be filed and now people the government's mad or whatever, you know what I mean? It's logistical, whoops, I forgot to fill in that form, type of drama. It's not interpersonal human drama, which honestly has been fucking awesome, highly recommended. And so I often talk every now and then about how did I get here, what does it mean, what are my thoughts right now about all of this shit, because I know that I'm not the only one that has this type of trauma history, and I know it's something a lot of people keep very close to their chest and don't really talk about and all of that. And I don't want to wallow in it, obviously. I don't need to trauma dump on you guys, but I just wanted to talk through some of it because I know that Mother's Day is a weird one, and you know what? It used to trigger the fuck out of me. I used to get stressed out so much and be so sad on Mother's Day, even more sad than I was on Father's Day, because everyone talks about this womanly bond and the mother-daughter bond being the most beautiful thing in the world, and it's so great and flowing and easy and just beautiful. And I've never fucking had that, and it was a shit show from hell basically, and I was just bummed about that. I mourned the fuck out of not having that for a really long time, for many years. I was so triggered by it. And if that's where you're at right now, I'm sending you so much love, because I know it's not an easy place to be. But what I will tell you is that it can end, and it does end, and it's okay to feel through it right now. So as I said in a previous podcast episode, feeling is healing, and so it's okay if you are in the dumps, you know, it doesn't have to be forever, but if that's your right now, that's okay. That's okay. But, you know, I went from that being very triggered to then being very pointed about being like, well, I'm my own mother. I'm going to do stuff for myself on Mother's Day. You know, so in therapy, what do they teach you? To be your own loving parent. And they teach you that in 12-step too. And so I learned a fuck ton about all of that and did it. And so for many years, for Mother's Day and Father's Day, instead of being triggered, like once I stopped being so triggered, I started reclaiming it and buying myself flowers, buying myself cards, being like, yes, I am my own mother, I'm my own father, blah, blah, blah. I'm my own parent, giving myself all of the stuff, the love, the everything that I wish that I was given. But anyway, it kind of changed over the years, and I just kind of forgot about it. Those days have stopped kind of having any meaning to me. Like, I just forget about it. It's like, oh yeah, that's the day, okay, like, move on. Like, it doesn't do anything to me emotionally anymore at all. Like, it doesn't feel like anything. It doesn't trigger me. It doesn't make me feel anything anymore, to be honest. It's just like another day. It's like, you know, some like holiday that is kind of just emotionally neutral, you know, which feels fine. Like, I feel fine about that. And so I totally forgot it was Mother's Day on Sunday. I forgot. I totally had no idea. Until I went to Spiritualist Zoom church, which I've been going to on and off as the mood strikes me over the past few years. And to be honest, interestingly, half of the time whenever I attend randomly, because the mood strikes me, I end up getting a message. And so if you guys don't really know much about Spiritualist services, how it works is there's some songs that are pretty cheesy. There's like announcements, as one does. And the whole thing starts out with a healing, sending out healing to everybody who needs it. So it's like a lot of energy work is where it starts. 1/3 of it is energy work, healing. The next third is a little speech by somebody, like talking on some kind of topic. And then the third third of it is messages. So the medium serves the community and comes to people or brings forth some imagery, and then someone is like, oh geez, that's me. Different mediums work in different ways. And I'll maybe make an episode about this if anyone wants to hear about it. But different mediums work in different ways. Some of them, like, they'll go to you specifically, and then some of them, they'll bring forth somebody, and then you kind of have to claim whoever the fuck that is. So anyway, the medium who was serving the community started giving this very, like, evocative scene of, like, walking through a garden and stopping, and, like, a winding path, and really spending time with all these flowers. And like the second she said that, I was like, oh fuck, like I stopped dead. I was like, oh god. I think this is for me, because the day before, and if any of you guys watch my Instagram stories, my Instagram is Sabrina M. Scott. On Saturday I shared a video of all these cool flowers. It was the second time I've seen this cool flower. It's like the imperial flower or something. Like, I've been posting about this flower. I was like, what the fuck is this cool flower? Like, it looks like this weird upside down. I don't know. It's badass. It's a badass flower. It's like Imperialis or something. It's fucking bizarre looking flower. And I had just seen one of them maybe a week ago on a really long walk. And then on Saturday, I saw a whole line of them planted in this very, like, decadent, elaborate garden. And I was like, holy fuck. And, like, I stopped and I just basked in them and watched them sway in the wind and took a video and I posted it. And it was just like a moment for me, this, like, walking through this gorgeous garden. And this medium was basically explaining this whole thing. And 5 of us, like, raised our hands, right? And I went last, and I was hearing all these different people telling, like, oh yeah, well, I I went to like St. Lawrence Market, which is like a farmer's market, and there was flowers there. So I was around flowers. That must be for me. And the medium was like, no, no, there was a path. And like everyone gave a different little thing, and the medium was like, no, that's not what I saw. That's not what was going on. I was like, oh, well, that was me then, probably, because that landed. And I described my little flower walk and what it looked like. And she was like, yep, I'm with you. And so I was like, okay, sweet. And so the medium basically started giving me this message from an aunt on my mom's side who has passed. So that would be like, I guess, a sister of my mom. Who this person is, I don't know. I actually don't know all the names of the family because my mom had a lot of siblings. And I'm not going to ask because I don't really want to be in contact with her. But you know what? And the reason I share this is because I know I'm not the only one, right? That is going to have that situation, that does ancestor work, that does family-based spiritual healing work to heal the generations of shit in our families. And we might not know everyone's names, and we might not be in a position where it makes sense to find out, like, I'm just going to accept that. And so that's going to be a part of the process for some of you guys, right? Is like being able to receive a message, not being able to know exactly the name of who that was from. But anyway, I'm not going to share the entire message, but it was very meaningful to me. And I just started like crying, like immediately. Like it was a crazy experience, and it was just very poignant for me. And it just landed for me about thinking about especially female lines in the family, in my family, like feminine energy lines and lineages, and generational trauma and generational narratives around womanhood and femaleness and mediumship, because my mediumship comes from my mom's side of the family. Like my mom's a very talented medium. Her mother read tarot, and as far as I'm aware, was also doing all of that type of stuff. So it goes back and back and back and back on that side, as far as I've been told. And it was just meaningful to receive that message. And I had no idea it was Mother's Day that day. I had no idea it was a surprising thing. And being able to just receive that and feel that spiritual connection. And part of what I was told was that they, like my ancestors, my female ancestors especially, are walking with me and, support every step of the way. And they're like, oh, we see you praying every day, and that's really, like, we applaud you for that, and blah, 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 and like all this other stuff that, again, I'm not going to fully get into. But it's funny, right? Like how these things work and how we heal from these woundedness, these woundings, these injuries that get passed down in the family. And I think there's something really beautiful about the spirits of our ancestors. Even like a deceased aunt, like that's pretty close. It's not like the ancient ancestors, it's a more recent ancestor. And just knowing that connection is there. And obviously I know that, like I do my own mediumship work and all of that shit, and like I talk to my own spirits and everything. But I think there is something really special about being able to be around other spiritual workers, other mediums, and have them crack open something that either was occluded to me or that I didn't know was a welcome connection, or something that I just kind of brushed off or just didn't think about. It can be a really beautiful opening. And it's funny, right? Like the last 2 messages I had come through from the mediums over the past few years, one of them was a great-grandfather on my dad's side, and I've never seen a photo of this person. And it was so interesting because even though I'm not really in touch with my dad after that message, and like the medium described, like, oh, he's very primly dressed, wearing very fancy clothes and like very like a top hat and all this stuff. And I messaged my dad. I was like, do you have any photos? This is like really random question, but do you have any photos of like your grandparents? And he did send me one. It was like the most dapper like dude I've ever seen in my life. Like, so dapper. I was like, oh fuck. And so it's crazy. It's like these people I never really met, like that they are here and coming through. And you know, since I didn't really know anything about them, it was cool to hear from a medium who doesn't have some of the blockages that I might have, let's say, because it can be difficult to talk to your own relatives sometimes, who are deceased. Sometimes there's emotional blockages or other blockages, or we don't really realize what's coming through, or whatever. Again, that's probably a topic for another episode. But it was really cool to have that channel like claimed for what it is. Like, obviously I do know a bunch of guides that I have and have had, but it's nice to see some of that from a different perspective, and then to be able to see that photo. And I also had my dad's mom come through, which was amazing, because after she passed, which was last summer, I actually hadn't been able to kind of touch in with her. I tried, and it wasn't really fully working, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to let it be, and she's going to come through when she comes through. And it was wild. Like, she came through in one of these sessions, and I was like, holy fuck, this is so awesome. It was like my grandmother, as I never had the opportunity to know her. It was my grandmother when she was younger. And after the Zoom church, she spent the rest of the day with me doing my errands, and we just were chatting. And obviously this is me chatting with her spirit, if anyone's lost the plot here, but that was what was going on. And what was so amazing was I was like, Grandma, I can't remember where the fuck I put your ring, because back when she was alive, she gave me this massive amethyst ring that was her favorite, and I couldn't remember. It was like one of those times where you put the special important thing somewhere special and important, and then you fucking can't remember where you put it. And I turned like the whole house upside down trying to find it. I was like, when she passed, I was like, where the fuck did I put it? Couldn't find it. So after the Zoom church, I asked her, like, Grandma, where is the ring of yours? And she told me exactly where it was. It's in the bottom of your closet, in this particular leather bag, in like the second pocket to the right. And lo and behold, there it was. Like, boom, 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 done. That's where it was. And I was like, fuck. You know, and so if any of you guys feel like you're delusional talking to spirits, it's a moment like that where you do get that validation, where it's like, yep, this is a real thing. Like, there really is no other explanation for that. And anyway, not to get carried away with this whole topic, but all that to say that connecting to our ancestors, connecting to those we knew who have passed, and maybe we didn't love them, right? Because there's this whole narrative around like your loved ones and whatever. And I know that families are complicated, and we don't always love our family, and our family doesn't always love us, honestly, just to call it how it is. And that being said, I think it's still powerful to connect with these lineages and to connect with our ancestors and to heal that stuff. And as for myself, I have created some boundaries around my own mother. She has stalked me on the internet for years, despite my telling her to leave me the fuck alone in many different ways. Like, she has created fake accounts with fake names to pretend to be a fan to talk to me. And it's weird, you know. She still sends me emails asking blah, 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 different type of stuff. You know, the last email she sent me was asking for my surgeon's information. So many reasons why all of this is wildly inappropriate. And so I've kind of accepted and made peace with the fact that my mother will probably always stalk me. My mother will always ignore my boundaries. No matter how many times and how firmly and how bitchily I say what I have to say, no matter how many times I block on different platforms, it's not really going to matter. She's going to do her, and that's how it is. And I have to make peace with that and find that peace within myself, and that is what I've done. And so now whenever I get that, those messages, or it doesn't trigger me, it doesn't ruin my day. It's just like, okay, there it is, filter into that folder where I keep all of this. And so I know that's the case for some other folks. There's some people I know personally who have similar experiences with family. And, all of that being said, it is what it is. And it creates a complicated spiritual relationship to this idea of mothering and motherhood and what does that mean. But receiving these messages from the spiritualist mediums on Mother's Day about, deceased women, like my mom's siblings on her side that have passed, are walking with me and supporting me and helping me and praying for me and lifting me up on this journey. And that was really nice to hear, and it was nice to be moved by that emotionally. And I went to go run some errands, and I had a really lovely interaction with a woman who was at the wine store. I was buying like a teeny little like mini bottle of rosé, sparkling rosé, just like something nice to have with dinner. And this woman wished me happy Mother's Day. She's like, oh, I don't know if you're a mother, but happy Mother's Day. And I was like, no, I'm not a mother, but... And then she kind of interrupted me, and she was like, oh, but there's so many different ways of being a mother. And I was like, without even thinking, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm a teacher. And she was like, oh, what grade do you teach? And I was like, no, not like that. And I kind of explained a little bit more about what I do. And she was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, she's like, you're definitely like a mother figure to so many people and a mentor. And, you're doing so much that is a mothering role, whether you realize it or not, whether you call it that or not, it is a mothering role. And this woman was like in her 60s. And I was like, wow, that's actually really, like, thank you. It really brightened my day. It really made my days. Obviously, as you guys know, I do not have human children. I have 3 cats. But it's been really interesting. It was so interesting to kind of hear that, right? It was actually such a cool day between the message, between that, the errands, the taking care of myself, from the conversation with her and talking about teaching and mentoring and how that is a form of mothering, and just taking that night to take care of myself and clean the fuck out of my house and do spring cleaning, do some organizing, do some of that self-mothering behavior, mothering the home. It was really fucking cool, actually. And so I don't know how Mother's Day was for y'all. It was probably the first Mother's Day that I actually messaged some folks that I know who are mothers and said happy Mother's Day. So usually it's not on my radar. I don't even think about it. So I've never really made that a part of my routine, but I decided to this year, and that felt good. And so all of that to say, it's okay if your relationship with Mother's Day evolves. It's okay if it changes from year to year. It's okay if this past Mother's Day fucking sucked for you. It's okay if this past Mother's Day you're resentful for your mom sucking. It's okay if this past Mother's Day you're triggered by not being able to have kids. It's okay if this past Mother's Day you're upset because your own kid didn't do anything for Mother's Day. All of that is okay. We're all on a journey, and it's ups and downs, and as long as we are taking those moments to reflect, to feel how we feel, to make time for ourselves, to feel peace within ourselves, to reflect on our lives, I think there's something beautiful about that. And obviously it's not always easy, it's not always rainbows, and that's okay. And so I hope my meandering story of Mother's Day this past year was in some way helpful, as you think about and reflect on your own situation. Maybe you're a mother, maybe you're a parent, maybe you gave birth, maybe you were a surrogate, maybe you've had 5 miscarriages, maybe you are infertile. I don't know if that's the politically correct word to use. I don't fucking know, but maybe that's you. Maybe that's something you're struggling with. Maybe your mom sucked. Maybe you feel like a bad mom. I don't know. There's so many different ways of relating to this. Maybe you work with the mother goddesses. Maybe you're a teacher like me, a mentor like me. Maybe you enjoy that mothering role when it comes to your clients, right? In a healthy way, obviously, not in a weird way. It's okay if we are working through this over time. It's not static. We hopefully are always evolving, always changing, always reflecting, always growing. And you know what? This was the best Mother's Day I had in a long time. And I forgot it was Mother's Day. It's interesting. And as I've gotten older, as I've gotten more healed, as a lot of my trauma has healed a fucking lot, it's been so cool to see what happens and what blooms within me and my relationship to others and my appreciation for others, and just basking in the beauty of all that is and the potential and the possibilities of life. It's so cool to see how much brighter everything is once we are a bit further along in our healing of some of these things that can really, be like a cloud in front of the sun, in a way. So however it was for you, I hope you're okay. I'm just going to invite you to take care of yourself, be gentle, do some self-soothing, whatever way feels good to you. It's important. And be our own loving parent. I know it can be exhausting to be our own loving parent sometimes, but it's also so necessary. All right, my beautiful folks, that is it for today. As always, you can catch me on the internet, Instagram at Sabrina M. Scott. My website is sabrinamscott.com. You can say hello at ceo@sabrinamscott.com. If you're interested in feminine energy coaching, which has been honestly my biggest joy lately, please send me an email, ceo@sabrinamscott.com. It's going so good. I'm going to raise my rates on this soon just because I'm feeling so much more comfortable doing it. But right now, the rate is $600 for 5 1-hour sessions scheduled whenever the fuck you want. It has been an absolute joy and honestly the highlight of my week whenever I get to do those. So thank you so much to everyone who has trusted me with your brains and your vibes so far. You guys are fucking awesome. And of course, Magic May is happening still, so you are more than welcome to join us. SabrinaMScott.com/Magic May. Daily prompts, daily discussion, just good vibes, reflections on magic, the community of the most fucking cool people I've ever encountered in my life. Everyone's amazing. And what else? Recession era witchcraft is going up in price next week. I mean it this time. So it's amazing. 3 hours masterclass on budget magic, how to do magic on the super cheap, budget friendly, how to draw in money, how to do money magic around debt, how to attract sexy people, and to switch up our mindset to be more abundant in these weirdo times of lack. You can check that out at sabrinamscott.com/recession. It will be available to you, lifetime access to view instantly. So don't miss out because it is fucking awesome masterclass. Okay, friends, that's it for now. Thank you so much. As always, send me a review, 5 stars only. And if you hate it, just fucking stop listening. It's not that hard. If you love the podcast, please share it with a friend. Honestly, it makes my day when I see you guys sharing the podcast and just saying nice shit about it and how much the podcast means to you and how you love starting your days with it. So thank you. Much love, friends. Talk to you soon. Bye.